Changed. All right, Awesemo, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Saturday morning with one T McBee. That would be Terry McBride. We're following up the Eitan Shander and Adam Scherer Ship My Money Sharer NBA show. So that is available on the Awesemo YouTube channel right now. You guys want to subscribe, you'll get that little notification each time we go live if you hit that notification bell. But also, you don't even have to hit that. Just subscribe, and then this will all pop up on your homepage, and it's easy to see when we're live at any given time. I have my 5 favorite YouTube channels all that I've subscribed to. And when I go to YouTube, the homepage, it just gives me a little dot on the far left and tells me if somebody's broadcasting. But of course, the Awesemo one I set the notifications for. It's a good time. Terry, how are you doing as we head into this holiday weekend?
Doing pretty well, buddy. I finally have it like in my brain that this is a holiday weekend. I was walking the dog the other day, maybe middle of this week, and somebody at the dog park just said, yeah, and it's July 4th weekend. And I turned around, just mouth agape in shock, just like, what? Just totally eavesdropping on these people. And they're like, what's wrong with you? I was like, no, sorry. I just heard that you said this is July 4th. Was not on my radar, but yeah, it's a good weekend so far. I'm supposed to be going up to the Yankees game after this, right as soon as we get off the air here. But it's like a 60-degree, rainy, nasty day here. So I am not sure that this game's going to happen. I'm not sure it's going to be pleasant. It was 90 and sunny all week long. And then the first day I'm supposed to go to a Yankees game in like 2 years, and it's 60 degrees and raining. So
that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
we're lucking out. We don't have any humidity. We had the big rain came through here, and don't worry, we're going to get to baseball. We're just waiting for everybody to kind of gather in here. Social media does its job collecting all you guys. Oh, there's another reminder. You follow us at Awesemo_COM or Awesemo MLB. You can follow Terry over at DigitalB21 or me at EMac DFS on Twitter, and you'll know when we go live because we're always retweeting our shows and other free content. Today, or the last couple of days, we had a lot of rain, but today and yesterday none, and barely any humidity. So it's a nice little breeze out there. It's completely uncharacteristic weather here for Washington, D.C. around the holidays. So, and I'm about 40 miles outside the city. Takes me about 2 hours to get in there, because there's actually a couple of our members are out there strolling around the mall and going to a little baseball game today. They're going to see Clayton Kershaw pitch. We'll talk about him soon enough, but they're just enjoying things. And I think it's tomorrow. Let me double check. I think it's tomorrow that there's that weird 11 a.m. Start here. Why? Yes, it is 11:05. Los Angeles will be playing against the Nationals here. And the reason they do that is they try to get everybody out of the city before all the waves of people come into the city to celebrate our nation's independence.
Makes sense.
Makes a lot of fun there.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump in here. We today are sponsored by PrizePicks. We will talk about them. We'll talk about them throughout the show as well, because I have a few prize pick recommendations here. But before we dive in, I do want to remind everybody we have the Awesemo Podcast Network, where the vast majority of our shows that are not live before lock, as long as they have any sort of shelf life, they will roll out there on the Awesemo Podcast Network. So if you're not able to watch the shows on YouTube, or you don't want to use the excess data, you can subscribe to the Awesemo Podcast Network. And even better, here's a little nice little feather to put in your cap. Submit a 5-star review, leave your Twitter handle or your Awesemo username, and we're going to enter you into a drawing for 1 free month. That's 30 days of Awesemo premium content. Not only that, we're going to do one drawing every Friday, and you're eligible for 52 weeks. I'm telling you right now, there's less than 100 people that have left the reviews. You have a less than, or not even a 1 in 100 chance of winning, and then you got 52 chances on top of that. Come on, leave us some 5-star reviews. There's going to be I think Mary McTide is going to leave us some views there, along with Terry McBride and a few other people. But come on, get on in there, leave us some 5-star reviews, and there's the trade-off. We're giving away 1 free month every Friday for that. All right, Terry, first game that we have, it's the aforementioned New York Mets at Yankees. The Subway Series, is that how this is referred to here? The Battle of the Bronx?
Yeah, Subway Series works. I think we invented that term in this city back in the day, so we'll keep it here. Back when there were 3 baseball teams playing in New York City, and now we've got one of those teams and a totally different one since the 60s. But yeah, I think we're still using Subway Series.
All right. Well, in that case, we got to mention that it is Taijuan Walker taking the mound, going against Montgomery here. Yesterday's game was rained out. There will be a doubleheader tomorrow. We don't have to worry about that today. This will be a full 9-inning game, assuming it goes. I'm leading you off with this, Terry. Taijuan Walker, props to him, 5.5 strikeouts, over or under. He has in 5 of his last 6, he has topped that, though 5 of them were 2 of them were 5. So basically, I'm saying 5 of his last 6, he has at least 5. 2 of them were exactly 5. So he gets to go against your Bronx Bombers here. Are they running out the wind machine lineup today? And take it away here for the Battle of Gotham.
So I tell you, they're sitting like 12th in the league, 12th worst in baseball by strikeout rate, but it's not egregiously bad. Like it's 24.2%, right? So that's trending more towards the average kind of teams. The middle of the league is around like 23.8%. It's actually the opposing New York Mets. So it's not like they're ridiculously bad. You're not up at 26.8 like the Cubbies, who we'll talk about later, against righties. But there's a lot of strikeouts on the board here for sure for Taijuan Walker. So I don't have it projected. I didn't have this game in my model, so I don't have an actual strikeout number on him. But I'm guessing that my model would have him probably pushed up a little bit above that 5.5. I would probably be looking at the over here. Walker's been pitching well this year. There's no real arguing it. He does have a contact profile that's a little bit concerning: 37th percentile hard hit rate, 42nd percentile average exit velo. But he's done well with barrels, 57th percentile and barrels, 61st percentile expected slugging percentage. So he's gotten away with some of the hard hit, some of the contact stuff. And then he's done well in terms of strikeouts. I just mentioned the strikeout rate sitting at 26.1%. That's a career high for him. So he's pitching better than he has throughout his entire career so far. I think it's a good spot for him. This is on only the all-day slate, I believe, on FanDuel, right? if I'm
It
not
is
mistaken.
on the all-day slate for FanDuel. It is on the, quote, early slate for DK. The next game we're going to talk about, that lone 3-game slate, DK says, no, it's only on our early slate. FanDuel says, hey, our main afternoon slate, we're going to start with that one. We're not ignoring the 3 o'clock game today.
Yeah, gotta love it. It's I thought it was a little bit more straightforward, and this one just wasn't going to be on anything, but nah, they got to throw us off. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's on that DK small slate there.
Just the first two.
Okay.
Just the first two.
Yeah. So Walker would definitely be in play as far as those the pitchers in that one. So I would keep him on the board. I'm not the biggest fan of Jordan Montgomery for DFS purposes. I think he's a better real life pitcher than he is a DFS pitcher. You're talking about a guy, he's good at limiting hard hit this year, 78th percentile in hard hit rate. The strikeouts are just 47th percentile. He does induce decent chase, 83rd percentile chase rate, 73rd percentile in walk rate. So he's not giving a lot of free passes, not getting himself into a lot of trouble. But when he does get hit, it's usually with the better part of the bat, 40th percentile expected slugging percentage, 46th percentile barrel rate. There's not a lot of meat on the bone in terms of overall upside. Like I mentioned, the Mets are a decent team in terms of their offense, although against lefties, 24.8% strikeout rate, a little bit higher than they were against right-handed pitching. Create runs 9% worse than average against lefties and a 145 team ISO. So they're a better offense. Well, actually, no. I guess they're pretty average against both hands in terms of the parts now that I'm actually staring at it. Around the middle of the league in terms of the home run rate, below average in terms of the ISO, and then 9% worse than average by WRC plus. So maybe Montgomery squeaks a little bit of upside. It's more maybe he's safe rather than he's going to give you a big start here. But if you're looking for safety, I think you could maybe get away with some Jordan Montgomery here. Not my preferred play, though.
All right. Artie Van Heusen asks my second favorite question. On the 2-game slate for DraftKings, can we play both pitchers from the same game? Why, absolutely you can, and there is no issue. There's actually also a relatively imperceptible advantage of doing that these days. With so many wins going to the bullpens, starters are getting fewer and fewer wins. Even if you have both starters in the same game, you have just shy of approximately a 40% chance of actually one of them getting the win. That's down relatively significantly, and I bet if we ran the numbers again this year, it'd probably be closer to about 35%. So gosh, a 1 in 3. It's pretty crazy that is the case. But when you start to remember how many pitchers aren't going going through the 5th inning, and whoever is actually pitching at any time in the 5th inning is the pitcher of record. Mm-hmm. But all it takes is just a few things to go awry. Like last night, perfect example. Mariners were up against Texas like 3-1, 4-2, most of the, or 3-2, whatever it was, most of the game, and all of a sudden Texas came in. Well, that not only didn't get the win for Kyle Gibson because he was already out, but it took it away from, I'm blanking on his name, the rookie that was going yesterday. And then the Mariners won it in, I believe, extra innings at something like 2 a.m. this morning. I happened to wake up and look at my phone, and there was still innings remaining on some of my teams. Like, what the heck? Who's still playing it? Was there a rain delay? Oh no, it's the Mariners. They're the only team still going. And I think as of about 1 o'clock, I was trying to back into the math. Almost all of the West Coast games were still going because there was a lot of pitching changes and there was quite a few runs. So that's one thing I don't worry about. The other thing on the DK slates, I'll play as many as 2, even 3 pitchers or 3 hitters against my pitchers. Here's why. Check and see who the pitchers are. Odds are you don't mind taking hitters against them. You're only hoping half the time on these slates that your pitcher isn't the one that goes negative. And it's just a function of how baseball is more or less played with the strategy of many arms coming in the game. But that's something that you can utilize across all short slates, not just today's.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes a ton of sense on short slates. You have to get different. You have to find some different approaches to just getting guys into your roster. I mean, it's difficult to just roster a good, competent lineup if you're just going kind of straight line through these teams at that point. So, yeah, it makes sense to mix it up. Makes sense to consider at least some hitters against your pitchers. 3 is aggressive for my tastes, but I'm with you.
Yeah, well, the 3 sort of depend. 1, it doesn't happen all that often. 2, I'm usually setting on DK where I'm doing this a $48,000 salary cap floor. seeing what happens, trying to make sure I'm getting because it'll give me as many 4-4s and 3-3s as I want. And then as I scroll down and I realize I'm spending 42,800, that may not be the way I want to go. I see where that sort of plateaus. Then I start changing the rules. Maybe I'll say, okay, it looks like it's about this many points is the floor. I'll now choose that as the limit. Let it fly with whatever the salary is. I did that the other day on a 2-game slate where I was playing $43,000 on about a third of my lineups. Those lineups all cashed because it was those crappy pitchers that did okay, and along with the hitters that were paired with them. And it wasn't even like they were the expensive hitters either, because I was leaving $7,000 on the table. It just so worked out that way, and nobody else was doing that. Fortune smiled upon me that day, but you got to take those chances where you can.
Yeah, that's something that you and I do a little bit differently. It's worth taking a moment to talk about. I won't go too long on it, but it is something that you and I do a little differently. I don't really cap salary at all in terms of like, I might do it just to see what a crunch looks like, or I might do it if I'm doing like a wacky construction where I'm leaving like just a 4-man and I'm doing 4 random guys. Then I might say, all right, if I'm doing it with that approach, I want all 4 of those one-off guys. Or if I'm leaving, let's say 2 one-offs, doing a 4-2 with 2 one-offs, I want both of those one-offs to be premium hitters. So then maybe I'll force it up with like on FanDuel, a 34,000 cap, leave 1,000 at most on the table. But in general, I'm comfortable and happy to leave a ton of money on the table as long as my lineup is a well-constructed, well-correlated lineup with the right hitters in it. It's just a function of how these sites price pitching and price hitters and how that comes together. So if you're getting to a 2, 3, 4, 5 stack from one team and a 1 through 4 stack from another with a pitcher that you like, and it leaves $5K on the table, who cares? It doesn't matter at that point. It's not like basketball where we're maximizing rates and point per dollar and all that. So it is an important detail on how you put lineups together. Anyway.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Game number 2, which is game number 1 on the FanDuel side. We have Tampa Bay in Toronto. Oh, wait. They're not in Toronto. This one is in Buffalo. They will be playing at Solon Field. We have, McClanahan going against Stripling. I'm not really excited about this one. Looks like we have a 10 over under. At some point, I will have to register and play a little bit of this early slate. But as we sort of mentioned, I'm just going to be throwing caution to the wind. The other thing I want to make sure before I register for this one, because I'm going to be traveling a little bit later this afternoon, if that Yankees game looks like it's a threat of weather, I don't want to be any part of this because there's no point on that 2-game slate. So I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going to pick my spot so I can keep my consecutive days played stuff going over there on DK, so I can get my crowns and milestones and all that fun stuff. For this one, we're going to lean towards the Toronto hitters, but I didn't do much in-depth analysis other than that. You're looking at this from more of the, hey, this is now in your segmented portion of I call you because you're FanDuel, me, I'm DraftKings, your segmented population. How is this sliding in with the inclusion of the 4:00 games in your player pool here?
Man, I don't know. Saying to somebody your FanDuel might be taken as an insult in some circles. That's a little rough. This one it's kind of on the board. I got the Rays wildly wrong yesterday. They were profiling great for power yesterday, and they just didn't come through for us. But they're looking pretty good here again in this matchup against Ross Stripling in terms of the power upside for the Tampa bats. So I think I would be getting to some of these Tampa stacks. And then, on the other side of it, I think the Blue Jays look very good here going up against Shane McClanahan. McClanahan's pitching fairly well, 50 2/3 innings, 28.9% strikeout rate, a 3.07 xFIP. 16.8% induced swinging strikes is excellent, 32.5% CSW percentage. He's been sharp, 8.2% barrel rate, a couple extra barrels on the ball, a few more than you'd like to see, but it's not egregiously bad. 40.3% hard hit rate, a similar story. It's up there, but it's not terrible. But I just really like this Blue Jays lineup. There's just so many talented hitters up and down the lineup. You get power, you get speed, you get everything that you could want out of this team. So it's just a good DFS team to put together. They project well for me. They're priced fairly. I don't think there's anybody. Vladdy getting up to 4,600 on the FanDuel slate is one of the higher prices we've seen for a hitter over there this season. But you can still make that work, particularly with some of the pitching prices on this slate. So I like both sides for the offense. I don't think I would have either pitcher. Stripling looks like he's projecting okay for me based on some of the strikeouts that are there in the Rays lineup. But he's not been a guy that I've been going to this season. 4.23 xFIP on the year. Only inducing 9.8% swinging strikes, 24.6% strikeout rate overall, 10.1% barrel rate, too many barrel balls, 16.4 degree average launch angle, 40.4% hard hit rate, and 90.2 mile an hour average exit velo. it profiles well for power. So if the Rays are getting bad on ball today, I expect there to be some home runs here. So it's probably not a pitching spot for me. Probably focus more on bats here.
All right, that makes sense. We're just going to keep pushing along here. Now we're into the 4:00 games. DraftKings rejoins us here. We have the Milwaukee Brewers going into Pittsburgh, taking on Cody Ponce. The hell is Cody Ponce? By the way, apparently I shamed the MLB probable pitchers page into never writing player capsules again. Terry,
Nice job.
I have now reached out twice to their customer service asking what happened. I now actually missed them. And they're not there, and I've gotten no response. So hopefully the intern did not suffer a terminal illness who was writing those, and they went on to bigger and better things, and their job was just not backfilled. But very sad that we don't have those anymore. So I had to do the heavy legwork here for me to go see who the heck Cody Ponce is. He is a whole lot of yeah. He is today, he is 27 and 69 days old. I want to point that out. That was my in-depth research here. He was drafted in the second round of the 2015 MLB draft. He came out of Cal State Poly. So he was chilling out there in Pomona, pitched 3 seasons there, mostly as a starter. His final 2 seasons, his freshman year, he was a kind of a reliever. He then worked his way through literally every major minor league level here for Milwaukee, and then ultimately over there with Pittsburgh. So this is a hey, remember me game. And he ended up, he's just like a whole lot of yeah. There's nothing exciting about him. On the other side, we have Eric Lauer, who has been floating around seemingly forever. Let's see, the Padres was the kind of where he came up. I'm not really excited about him. For me, it's the bats in both these games, but we have just a relatively low 4 implied run total here for Pittsburgh. Does that put Lauer in play at all for you? And how are you untangling this mess of 2 less than effective pitchers?
Yeah, so I talked about it yesterday. The way that my model creates pitching projections, I have a separate spot for how strikeouts come together, and then like a modifier based on a team's just general offensive performance, the opposing team. So it's the idea of that is to capture pitchers who are maybe not the biggest strikeout guys, but squeeze out a little bit of additional upside when they're facing some of the worst teams in the league, the Tigers, the Pirates, teams like this. So Lauer's getting a little bit of a bump in his projection overall. I don't trust it at all. I don't think he's much of a pitcher. This is a guy, I don't know that I'd flat remove him from my player pool because it is a very bad Pirates team that he's going against. But there are now some decent hitters in that lineup as individuals. We've seen them pop in different spots here and there for a little bit of offense from time to time. But just more to the point, I just don't trust Lauer in terms of his capability as a premium pitcher here. Over 44 innings this year, 24.9% strikeout rate. There's nothing wrong with that. It's around league average, 3.93 xFIP, a 1.32 whip. Average launch angle, 18.5 degrees, is pretty up there, profiling towards some home run territory. 9.5% barrel ball rate, similar story there. The hard hit rate is saving him. Only 36.5% hard hit is pretty good. Average exit velo at 89.3, also pretty good. So guys aren't really squaring it up, but when they do, they're going to get to this guy with that kind of a barrel ball rate, that kind of an average launch angle. There are some good home run hitters on this team, Brian Reynolds included. He's got 15 on the season. Brian Hayes is going to be a very, very good player in this league. Still finding his way. 257, 339, 416 on the season with 3 home runs over 115 plate appearances. But he is a premium hitter, or will be. So you can put that Pirates stack together. I don't know that it would be a go-to, but they're low owned enough that you can kind of mix those guys around. Brian Reynolds in particular stands out, 5% ownership or below on both sites. So even if you're just grabbing him as a one-off, I kind of like that. So I wouldn't really be getting to either of these pitchers. Cody Ponce, like you said, kind of just a middling prospect coming up through the system, not a guy who rocketed through the levels at any point. Middling strikeout rate in the mid-20s that decreased every time he advanced a level through the minors. So I don't expect much from him here. Getting very, very good marks for the Brewers in terms of power. This is a stack I don't get to a ton. I talked about it on yesterday's show. I mocked Willy Adames for being Willy Adames and being their second best hitter. He promptly hit a first inning home run. So that was fun. But I still do think it's Willy Adames, Christian Yelich, Avi Garcia, maybe Omar Narvaez on the right day. I like Kistin Hiura and his upside and his profile all through the minors, but he has just not been performing this year. So it's just a tough stack to put together for me, but they do profile well in terms of the power upside. The DFS projections, not great. So it's that kind of a stack that I hear.
All right. We do have some free content today. Normally it's premium, but today we do have the NBA Showdown single game ownership projections, as well as the MLB main slate player ownership projections. You'll want to check that out. Of course, if you want to get in on the NBA analysis, we just had an hour with Aton and Adam that's breaking down tonight's game 6 for Milwaukee and Atlanta. Tonight at 7:30, you'll get Rinpack and Aton again, breaking that down as they go into the actual tip-off at 8:30. And then at 6 o'clock, you're going to get Live Before Lock with Greg and Gundacker. What? I'm not on the show. That's right. I am going to be away from home. Shocker of shockers, but apparently that is allowed. We have some friends in town, so we're going to go do 5Ks. I'm doing a 5K. They may all be doing the 10K. So I'll be walking. So we'll all finish around the same time. But hey, good for that.
Like that.
Yeah, nothing wrong there with that. So let's look at our next game here. I wanted to bring up Mr. Shander there, who lives in the Philadelphia area. You guys, if you want to know up-to-date weather, you should definitely tweet Shander Show and Lofty_D today to see what's happening in Philly. It looks like there could be a little bit of weather there. I don't think it's going to be a dramatic issue, but we do have Yu Darvish in this game, and he is going to be the best pitcher, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, on the afternoon slate here. 3.8 implied run total coming back at the Phillies. Phillies are going to be countering with Zach Eflin. He will be staring down the Pod Squad, who have a 4.8 implied run total here. For me, I was doing a little research here, Terry, on two of our pitchers on today's slate, Yu Darvish and then Clayton Kershaw. And you know what's funny is they just get such a bad rap in the DFS community, and they're just like, oh, these guys suck. These guys are horrible. No, they don't. We have just set such high expectations for them. It's darn near impossible for them to achieve these. So, like, people are saying, oh, Darvish is so bad. This season, he's 13th in Major League Baseball with a 2.44 ERA. He has a 0.94 whip. That is 10th. That means he's allowing less than one base runner per inning. Yeah, he's striking out 10.8 per 9 innings. Not amazing, but also still not quite elite, but in the top 10% of starting pitchers. Over his last 5 outings, which does include one game in Coors Field as well as one against the Dodgers, he has 29 innings with a 3.07 ERA, a .995 whip, and an 11 strikeout per 9. At 53 on Yahoo, 11,000 on FanDuel, and 10-4, good buddy, on DK. I'm all in for that. Nobody's going to get that 10-4 joke.
I got it.
Brian Claremont, Cantor. I'm counting on you guys to know that one.
We got some truckers out there or something. We'll get that. Come on, there's people watching. Yeah. Anybody, for the record, anybody who's saying Yu Darvish sucks is out of their goddamn mind. Same story with Clay Kershaw. These are two of the best pitchers in baseball, and they profile that way. Looking at the StatCast boards for Darvish, since you just went through some of the other numbers, expected slugging percentage, 83rd percentile, barrel rate, 79th percentile, hard hit rate, 84th percentile, average exit velo, 79th percentile, strikeout rate, 84th percentile. This is one of the best pitchers in baseball. There is no issue with rostering him here against this Phillies team. He is actually my second highest projected pitcher on the early slate by about a half a fantasy point. I have a guy we'll get to in a minute in a better strikeout matchup who's projecting slightly better, but I love this spot for Darvish. The Phillies against right-handed pitching are sitting by strikeout rate, looks like 10th in baseball with a 24.8% strikeout rate. This is not a good offense against right-handed pitching. A 142 collective ISO, 3.02% home run rate, below average, 15% worse than average creating runs against righties. This is a good spot for Darvish. There's strikeout upside. There's not a ton of threat coming back against him the other way. I really, really like the spot here. He's only going 12.3% owned on the FanDuel slate because he's the most expensive pitcher by a pretty wide margin at 11K. The next highest priced guy on that slate, I don't even know who it is. It's a big, big difference. Let's put it that way. 9,600 for Sandy Alcantara looks like the next highest price. So you're paying up to get there, but I think it's worth doing in this spot. He's got the biggest probability of putting up a lights out start in this matchup. So I really like the spot for Darvish. Eflin on the other side, I don't think I'm going to walk him into the Padres lineup. I think this Padres team is too good. He's not projecting that well. 23.1% strikeout rate over 90 innings on the year. He's a league average-ish kind of a pitcher. I think it would be unfair to expect an upside start from him. Could you get like a 20 some odd point FanDuel start out of him? Absolutely. For 7,500, there could be a little value in that on a semi-short slate. it's just not a spot for me. I don't think we need it. And with like everybody else on the slate priced around that, I also don't think you really need the savings that much. So it's not an F1 spot for me.
Let's continue along here. Where is my run sheet? We have, I was going to say, Sandy Alcantara. I'm trying to get better on that pronunciation. There's a little hint of that third
A in there at the end.
But if you go listen,
people have been saying Alcantara on this show, on our streams, for a long time now.
MLB, I've been going to listen to highlights because
I don't care.
I've been sloppy calling it.
I do not care what non-Latino announcers pronounce these names as.
Tyler, how does Tyler say his name? Male? No, it's Tyler Mele.
Oh, Melee. Oh,
or Male.
I like that. That's
Mele.
Tyler Melee would be fun. I like that.
Yeah. Well, it's fun to say Molly, because it's like moly from Austin Powers. But technically, I was just checking those out.
I am totally willing to accept alternate pronunciations on these names, but I do like to hear them from the players themselves sometimes. I don't trust announcers with some of these, especially with different languages.
You mean like Jamer Candelario? That's from him. It's not Heimer. That's the best part. Or J Hap. Yeah, I know it's spelled J-A, but it's J.
Yeah, that's J. Yep.
Oh,
Chris just dropped the pronunciation on the
there it is.
Yeah. All right, there you go. Yeah. I'll take it.
Just throwing it out there, but don't look up the Heimer Candelario one because it's actually
I went A in there.
So, but putting that out there, and I have to say it because our inspector of all pronunciations is Mr. Steve Leibowitz, who is in chat, and he is going to die on the Nathan Eovaldi hill. It's not Eovaldi, it's Eovaldi. So there we go. Right. I just have some fun with that. We needed a little bit of a break. Now back into the thick of things. Hopefully Sandy is not going to be throwing at anybody and getting himself run out of the game. Feels like that was something the Marlins were doing yesterday. A little bit silly there. On the other side, you have Mr. Mueller is what we're going to go with that one, because I don't believe it's Mueller. There's not an E in there or a second E in there. So the interesting thing about this one, Marlins project with a 32.5% K rate for their trailing 2+ seasons. How are you feeling about a little discount dandy there with the youngster Mueller?
He's not projecting there for me. It might just be short sample information in my model here for Mueller. But it's certainly not pulling the projection out for him. So it wasn't a spot I was really looking at. He is a well-regarded prospect in their organization here. I'm just trying to get to his minor league stats so I can take a quick look here. But definitely was not somebody that it was really popping out of the spot for me, although I do like to attack this Marlins lineup. Looks like AAA this season, he's at a 28.9% strikeout rate, which is pretty solid. But the FIP is at 5.15, which is bumpy when you're talking about a AAA stats here. So there's a little bit of a question based on that. 4.72 xFIP in AAA this season. Last season, 4.19 in AA. So I don't know if he's necessarily rounded into form yet and if he's necessarily ready. The Braves have just been accelerating some of these pitchers in their development and getting them up here a little bit early. Could he have a good start against a Marlins team that is mediocre at best in most situations? They've improved a little bit in terms of how that lineup is situated, but they're still sitting fourth worst in baseball with a 27.1% strikeout rate against lefties, 14% worse than average creating runs, a 146 team ISO. So there's something on the bone there for him. At 6,900 on FanDuel, it's not a spot for me, but if he works as a discount dandy on the DK slate, then I don't necessarily hate it based on the matchup at 5,300. You could probably squeeze a few points out of him there. Sandy on the other side, I don't love throwing pitchers at this Braves lineup. He's projecting in around the middle of the pool for me. Braves are just very, very good in terms of their offense and their hard hit and everything that they do there. They strike out a decent amount against righties, 25.4% strikeout rate, and they only create runs 1% better than average. But they've got a 4.27% home run rate in the split and a 187 team ISO. They just hit righties for a lot of power. So I'd be a little concerned about Alcantara here. You do have the wacky narrative with the hit batsman and these guys throwing at Acuna over the last few years. That's what got Pablo Lopez tossed last night. No warning, no nothing. So if anything slips out of anybody's hand here, you could see something wacky happen again, but we can't project for that. So I'm not going to worry about it. But Alcantara would be kind of just a mix-in level type guy for me. That said, 2.6% ownership on FanDuel. You're spending up to get different. If you really wanted to, that's not that difficult to exceed, even for a pitcher that you don't necessarily like, just based on the fact that he's got talent at that ownership. Maybe we grab a few additional shares. If you want to double up the field, it's not difficult to do.
All right. And then just again with Muller, 5,300 on DK. That's just, it has to be said.
Yep.
It goes there. Why were they throwing it at Acuna?
Going back a few seasons, he hit one out and did a bat flip off of escapes my memory which crappy Marlins pitcher it was at the time. But they've had a thing. They've apparently hit him like 6 times in the last 3 seasons or something like that.
All right. That one, whatever. All right.
Stupid nonsense.
That's I believe they call that weak sauce. This is the technical term. Moving along. Oh, and I, by the way, I don't mind a few of the unwritten rules of baseball. That's kind of an annoying one. Maybe buzz somebody, throw behind them, have a little fun. We don't need to hit them though. That's not good at all. And bat flips, come on. What's wrong?
Yeah, I think I have no issues with bat flips. I think most of the unwritten rules are a little silly, like, walking across the pitcher's mound and stuff. It's like, all right, come on. Let's be realistic about these things. I think though, if somebody crosses the line, hitting them in the right spot is not necessarily the worst thing. It's when guys go head hunting that you get problems, right? But if you're putting something in the small of a guy's back or in the thigh, we're not going to really hurt anybody.
Or in the gluteus maximus, exactly. They'll deal with it.
Exactly.
They'll deal with it. Next game, Chicago White Sox at Detroit Tigers. Tyler. Why am I saying Tyler? Oh, because Tyler, Texas. Dallas, Texas. Dallas Keuchel wins the lottery today. He will be going against the Motor City Kitties. Apparently they don't like that when I write that in my articles. They strike that and they put in Detroit Tigers. Motor City Kitties, I guess, is not approved by the AP style guide, but I'm going to keep, if I can't write it, I'm going to say it then. The interesting thing,
give the editor something to do.
Yeah. Over his last 1,100 batters faced of either handedness, Keuchel has a 58.2% ground ball rate. That feels pretty elite. What do you want to do with this one? Tyler Skubal, going to be pretty good at some point. Young lefty, learning his craft, still has that strikeout upside, but does tend to leave a few over the plate from time to time. How do you want to approach this one? And this just feels like the perfect vortex for like a 2 runs produced by the Motor City Kitties.
Yeah, this is a spot I fully expect Keuchel to come in and shut this team down. I love the price on FanDuel, 7,100 for Dallas Keuchel in this spot. I know he's not a go-to DFS option. I know that I'm probably his biggest DFS fan and the only person who rosters him in some spots, but I think there's upside here going up against the Tigers. He's not a big strikeout guy, 14.4% strikeout rate on the season for Dallas Keuchel. That is anemic. That is not a good strikeout rate. But this Tigers team, worst in baseball, 28.2% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. That is just bad. 3.05% home run rate going up against a guy who keeps the ball on the ground to that degree. They're not going to be elevating the ball. They're not going to be hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Creating runs 12% worse than average against lefties, 146 collective ISO, all well below average. This is an upside spot for Dallas Keuchel. When you roster this guy, you've got to hope for the additional couple strikeouts and then just rely on his depth of start getting you to the quality start, getting you to the win bonus here. I like the White Sox for the win here going up against Tariq Skubal. They're a much better offense against left-handed pitching. So I think there's a good narrative here to support the idea that Keuchel's going to give you a pretty decent DFS start in this spot. And for that price, I think there's a lot to like about it. And the fact that I'm just noticing 6,700 on the DK slate. Hello, that's a value play for sure. Even if he doesn't get you a few extra strikeouts, if you're just plugging and playing that and he gets you through safely, gets you through clean, I think that's enough here. So I really, really like the spot for Dallas Keuchel. Don't come back at me if he only strikes out 4 guys and doesn't give us a huge upside spot. I'm not saying he's going to blow through a ceiling score here. I do think he's going to put up a productive, relevant DFS score.
All right. And then talking about Skubal just a little bit, we have Yohan Moncada likely out for the weekend. He got bruised his hand somehow. I can't remember if he got hit on the hand. Let's see here. Nope. Hard slide into third base on Jose Abreu's single, blah, blah, blah. hurt his hand, x-rays, negative. So their lineup, theirs being the White Sox lineup, is wow. It's kind of weak at this point. We already had Eloy Jimenez out. They've got we're looking at Brian Goodwin getting promoted up near the top of the lineup here. That's not always a great thing. In the lefty, Zach Collins potentially being in the heart of the order along with Andrew Vaughn. He is finally showing some signs of power here. He does get the righty-lefty matchup. You had Luis Garcia, who was a late scratch the other day. I'm blanking. They're missing a couple. Obviously, Abreu is in. I'm missing a couple other.
We've got Gavin Sheets in there. We've got Timmy Anderson still in there. I actually like some of their fill-ins, so I'm gonna maybe take it in a slightly different direction because I do think we've got some talent here. Brian Goodwin, I've been defending Brian Goodwin when I've written about this team over the last couple of weeks since his call up. He's a 30-year-old guy. He's been stuck as like a quad A player for his career. His biggest season was 458 plate appearances in 2019 for Los Angeles, for the Angels. He hit 17 home runs that year, stole 7 bases, 262, 326, 470, created runs 7% better than average, had a 208 ISO. For his career, the guy's got a 210 ISO. He's created runs 4% better than average. This is a decent player. This is a guy who just maybe has not had the right circumstance, has not been able to stay in a lineup because he's gotten called up for various fill-ins. He's gotten traded around the league a few times. So he's moved around. He's a veteran guy. He's never going to get there. But in terms of his DFS value at 3,100 on FanDuel, 3,300 on DK, hitting second probably in this lineup, I kind of like that spot. And he's not getting any ownership. It's a lefty-lefty matchup, so it's not the greatest spot in terms of that for him. But just in general, I do think Brian Goodwin needs a little bit more credit than that. I also think Andrew Vaughn, we've got upside there, but he's drawing some ownership. Gavin Sheets, to me, is sneaky. He's got a lot of power upside. Sneaky power bat. He came in priced at the min price the other day, jumped up to 2,600 on DK, 2,800 on FanDuel. Still very affordable. Has 2 home runs already in his 17 plate appearances since the call-up the other day. There is a ton of power in that bat. So I think he could be sneaky valuable. I don't totally hate the idea of some White Sox stacks here. Some of the lefties are going to be a tough ask maybe against Scooble here. 27.8% strikeout rate for him on the season. He walks too many hitters for me, 10.7% walk rate. Average launch angle, 18.7 degrees, 13.3% barrel rate. We are getting into dangerous territory there. 46.8% hard hit, 91.2 average exit velo. There is some good home run upside there. So I like the White Sox stack on that one. This is an offense. This is a White Sox and an offense on the White Sox for me.
All right, this will be the 3rd time in his career Sheets has faced a lefty in the majors. Just want to point that out.
He hasn't been in the majors that long.
Well, you're not supposed to say that. That was a dramatic stat that just has absolutely nothing to do with nothing. But hey, it's old-timey announcer day. Yasmani Grandal is out today. He has a calf injury. Adam Engel is on the injured list. We mentioned Luis Garcia was a late scratch last night. There was no reason given. Moncada dealing with the hand injury. We mentioned Luis Robert is out with a hip. Jake Lamb is out. Nick Madrigal is out. Eloy Jimenez is out. And I'm missing. What happened to Yerman?
They sent him down yesterday.
They sent him down. Sad. Boy, he was a nice story there for a moment.
For about 5 minutes, and then he got in that fight with Tony La Russa, and he was never the same after that.
Yeah, but way to go.
That was the last thing I remember him doing.
La Russa saying, hey, it's okay to throw up my players if they hit a home run in the late innings.
Right, and that completely, I guess, shattered this kid's confidence, or the fact that he was never really that good. So we'll see. 28-year-old kid, decent power grades, but once you're 28 and you're just making your major league debut, you've been in low A and high A for most of your career, you're probably not that good a player. Nice little flash in the pan.
Anything else from this game?
From this one? No, I think we covered this one top to bottom.
All right, 2 more on our 4 o'clock slate. Then we will get to the main slate here. Cubbies in Cincinnati taking on the Reds. It is going to be in the mid-80s today with a, what is it, doing the math, 3 o'clock local start? Yeah, 3 o'clock local start there in Cincinnati. We have basically a pick'em in this one. You've got Adbert Alzolay going against the Reds. I really don't want to tangle with the Reds, even though Eugenio Suarez has forgotten how to hit home runs. Just 2019, he had 49 home runs. Crazy that where the power has gone. Tyler Naquin, always a pinch hit risk. Joey Votto, well, he's back in our lives in his age 36 season, if he, in fact, he is not already 37. Nick Castellano, excellent. Jesse Winker, phenomenal. Jonathan India, I think a flash in the pan. I haven't quite figured him out yet. And then you've got Tyler Malley. There we go. Malley. I dropped those links into chat so people could follow along with me on the YouTube highlights of the different sources of pronunciation here. But how are you fit? Start off with the Cubbies, and I think I'm going to give you a little note here. Where is it? PrizePicks. Did you know they're our sponsor today? Did you know if you sign up utilizing the promo code Awesemo, they will match you up to your first $100 deposit? Did you further know it is a player prop site? You actually get to choose 2, 3, 4, or 5 player props. You go over, you go under, you mix the sports. Not a problem. They literally have they have a highlight in there. What? Who has high? I don't even know where to find highlight information, but it's in there. But today I want to mention a nice little one here for get back to my notes here for Jock Peterson. So Tyler Malley, I'm never going to say this right. I'm going to say it 4 different ways. 7.5 strikeouts is his prop. He's had 8+ in 3 of his last 6. Chicago projects as a 30.6 strikeout against lefties. And then Jock Peterson, a 1.5 hits plus walks. I want the under on Josh Peterson hits plus walks. That means he's got to get on base twice. Do we think he gets on base twice today?
No, not Jock Peterson's specialty getting on base. Jock Peterson's specialty hitting home runs off of
which counts as being on base once, or does it really count as being on base if you never stand there? Right? He's touching them all, but he's not standing.
Yeah, you were briefly on it, and then you moved along.
Okay.
So 304 on base percentage for Jock this season, 8.1% walk rate. I don't love it. That's not. Yeah, I would be under there. I thought you were going to go to the Molly strikeouts on that prop, actually, because it's a good strikeout.
Well, that's a prop that you can see over there on Odd Shopper. I was going to give this first round to PrizePicks. I was going to see where we landed on it, but I felt like talking about PrizePicks.
And then I don't know if you just saw the note that popped up from our excellent producer Chris in the background there, but apparently the Nathan's hot dog eating contest is on PrizePicks tomorrow too. That's pretty awesome.
That is, pour one out for Kobayashi, man. So sad. He'll be doing the shadow contest somewhere else for the 7th straight year I'm blanking on the guy who Joey Chestnut.
Yeah,
usually wins it.
Joey Chestnut over. What's the I can't see that on my screen. The over for Joey Chestnut.
Yeah. Well, that will have to Joey Chestnut over 74 fantasy score. So let's see. Yeah, that's going to be pretty lofty. I wonder if they count like buns plus hot dogs or something like that.
Yeah, is it more points if you eat it without dunking the thing in the water? Does everybody just do that now? Is that like the commonly accepted strategy?
I think they do. Oh, here we go. So Joey Chestnut, the record, he set it in 2020 was 75. So they're going with the over under of 74.
That's bad. Right. 75.
I think the most I've had like
I love hot dogs, but I wouldn't want to do that.
3 hot dogs before. Maybe I've had 4 before.
Right? Yeah, 3 or 4. Like that's a solid amount of.
I remember when I was like 17 years old at like an all-day barbecue or something, right, when I could have 2 Big Macs and say, "Hey, Mom, what's for dinner?" You know, so.
Right? Yeah, a little different. God.
Oh, good times, good times. But back to this one, feels like we're going on the under for Jock Peterson and potentially on the over for those strikeouts at 7.5.
So 7.5 is high. That's what I was going to jump to. I do like the spot for Molly, but I actually have him projected at 6.81. So I have him coming up a little bit under, which I was surprised by. I thought I would be around the line. Usually I'm dancing right around where the line is. So a little bit under, which is fine. You know, maybe that's where he lands today, but I do really like the strikeout spot for him in general. I think there's a lot of upside. The Cubbies are sitting, I believe worst in baseball with a 26.8% strikeout rate against righties. He's not totally safe because they do have a 175 collective ISO against righties. They have a 4.16% home run rate against righties, which is one of the better marks in the league. They create runs 9% worse than average overall as a unit, though. Sequential hitting, not quite there. So a little bit of power. Maybe he gets in trouble if he puts a couple guys on base and gives up the long ball. But I like the spot for Molly here going up against this Chicago Cubs lineup. He's my highest projected starter on that early slate by half a point over Yu Darvish, like I said earlier.
All right. I have to point this out. I see someone put it in chat, so I just pulled up a quick article here. It says Brian Claremont said that Joey Chestnut gained 24 pounds from the last contest, which made me think, I wonder how much a hot dog in a bun weighs for. Hey, there's an article on that right here. In 1972, the winner of the Nathan's hot dog eating contest ate 14. That was in three and a half minutes. I believe it's a 5-minute competition now. But according to the website, the Nathan's hot dog weighs 3.5 ounces, has 280 calories. That means 15 hot dogs weighs 15 pounds. You put in the buns plus soaked in water and all of that. I can see how we get to something in the low 20s. Think about that. He's going to stand there and weigh 20 pounds more after 5 minutes.
That is absolutely outrageous. It's amazing that somebody can do that and survive to the following year to do it again. And then
comparable to a Thanksgiving turkey coming into it in 5 minutes. 70 hot dogs would measure 35 feet in length when laid end to end, or about the height of a 3-story building.
That is
okay. Now I don't want to watch this because this is just wrong.
Whoa.
This is just wrong. We have a poll in chat here. You guys want to go check that out? One of the fun little things that we have here now available in the old YouTube for us. We have a Joey Chestnut over or under 75 hot dogs or exactly. Do they ever just get exactly? I don't know. But oh boy, I'd hate to be.
If he set the record at 75, he's going to have to go over if he's, if he's any kind of man. I mean, well, come on, what are we talking about here? Gonna be a wuss and only eat 75 hot dogs again? Come on.
I probably haven't had 75 hot dogs in the last 10 years combined. In fact, I know I haven't. So, oh boy. All right. Let's get back. Two games to go here.
Any Albies for you in that one?
So, no, not at 9,500. I just don't like that. I really don't like the park. Almost a 5 implied run total coming in here for Cincinnati. Same price, him going against Detroit. Entirely different answer for me today.
Sure.
But just not really against.
What if I told you he cost 6,500 on the FanDuel slate?
Well, now, how often does he make it 6 innings? Because I'm looking for that quality start on the blue side, Terry.
That's a fair point. And against this offense, I would question the upside in that. He's 65 1/3 over 13 starts. So yeah, if you're doing the math on that, he's coming in probably under 6 innings most of the time. 26.1% strikeout rate. I do like that. 1.10 whip. I like that. 11.1% swinging strikes. The barrel rate is not great. 11.5% barrel ball rate, but it's a 9.7 degree average launch angle. So not getting really tattooed for home run upside. A lot of line drives, a lot of ground balls. At that price, I don't know that we need the savings. That's the thing. Like, there's a lot of guys in similar price range. There's not a lot of crazy expensive bats on that slate, but it would at least be a functional value spot. Like, it's a risk. You're embracing some risk to do it, but under 5% ownership at that spot, there's maybe a little bit of value to squeeze out of it there. I do like the Reds side of this one a lot better, though. They're just a really good power hitting team, very good offense in general. So I would be getting to more Reds bats, but I might allow for a little bit of Alzolay.
All right, final one. We've got a couple prize pick ones that I want to talk about. In here, we'll let Terry do the heavy lifting on the analysis. But we don't have an official starter yet for the Twins. It looks like it's going to be Griffin Jax, who I have some notes on, so that I can mention. Where did he go? So he's going to be someone that we probably want to target against. Let's see. It looks like Griffin Jax will be getting another turn in the rotation with Michael Pineda and Randy Dobnak on the injured list, and Matt Shoemaker having been designated for assignment on Thursday. Jax was selected in the 3rd round of the 2016 MLB draft after pitching for the Air Force Academy. If he actually starts today, Terry, he will be the first Air Force Academy graduate to have started in Major League Baseball and also been drafted. There must have been a free agent around there somewhere. But in any event, that's pretty cool. The 26-year-old is a mostly, and that's the keyword, 26, mostly a low strikeout ground ball pitcher, with his effectiveness slipping with each rung which he has climbed in the minors. Through 4 relief appearances, he has compiled a 7.82 ERA with 5 home runs allowed in 12.2 innings. The lack of strikeout stuff bodes well for the potential production of Jorge Soler, Ryan O'Hearn, and Hunter Dozier, who don't make contact often, but when they do, the ball goes very, very far. And then we got Whit Merrifield, Carlos Santana, and Salvador Perez, the trio we can trust. Then you got either Michael A. Taylor or Jared Dyson out there coming in as your discount dandies. That is the side that I like. Now I'm going to mention my 3 PrizePicks. So the other thing you can do on PrizePicks is, again, I mentioned you go 2, 3, 4, or 5 questions. The more questions you choose and get right, the higher your multiplier. So if you select the 5-question parlay, for lack of a better word, get all 5 right, you can 10x your buy-in. They have fantasy point questions. So you don't want to screw around with that. With the 1.5 hits plus walks for Jock Peterson, that sounds confusing. Well, let's go click on fantasy points. Oh no, we don't have PrizePick fantasy points. Whatever do we do, EMac? Well, they have the same scoring system as FanDuel or Yahoo, so we can just look at those projections, which are readily available at Awesemo and a handful of other sites, but you want to get them from Awesemo. So I always talk about who in these situations? Whit Merrifield. Blah, bitty, blah. EMac's going to mention him again. Why? Well, now he's up to, I think, a 7.5 over under on his fantasy points. That's up from 7 and 6.5 the last 2 weekends when I talked about him. Did you know he has surpassed 9.3 PrizePick points / FanDuel and Yahoo points in 14 of his last 17 games, Terry? You would have won 14 out of 17. You would be 14-3. I'm not going to go into the, do you not like free money? But come on, let's pick Whit Merrifield here. Additionally, if you want to get a little crazy going against Danny Duffy, who is a good pitcher, does have a slight home run problem, you can look at Josh Donaldson, or you can look at Nelson Cruz. We have them respectively for 13 and 11 fantasy points. I believe their mark is 6.5 going from memory there. Now that I've talked PrizePicks, which is going to give you a $100 matched deposit if you use the promo code Awesemo with your first deposit. Terry, what does the real baseball analysis say about this massive amount of information I've thrown at everybody?
So I like to call
it. That's my Joey Chestnut after the 75th hot dog information. Information.
I like it. So I do like that call on Whit Merrifield. Just one of your more likely guys to just string together a few hits, maybe steal a bag. He's got a little bit of power. 289, 336, 438 on the season, 22 stolen bases, 8 home runs. Lot to like there. As soon as I put Griffin Jacks into the mix here, the Royals' power numbers went through the roof. So I totally agree with you. I think this is a great spot to grab some Carlos Santana, some Sal Perez, even like a Ryan O'Hearn, a Hunter Dozier profiling decently for power, though the power has been largely out for Dozier most of this year. I wrote about this team, I want to say like Monday or Tuesday, and a guy who kind of stood out to me as a value guy, given that he's at min price on FanDuel, kid who not a lot of people are thinking about, 31 plate appearances on the season so far, is Edward Olivares. Looking at some of his minor league numbers, he kind of stood out. He's got a couple very good fantasy seasons in the minors. Double-A in 2019, he had 18 home runs, stole 35 bags. 2017 in low A, he had 17 home runs, stole 18 bases. In Triple-A this year so far, in 150 plate appearances, he had 8 home runs and 11 stolen bases. 231 ISO, 366, 433, 597, creating runs 73% better than average. For min price, jumping a level with the major leagues, I'll absolutely have some shares of that in my Royal stacks. So I really like that kid. I like working him at least down to the 7 spot, finding him. I think there's sneaky upside in Michael A. Taylor every now and again, like we've seen. Even Nicky Lopez can give you a couple stolen bases, and he's hitting 270, 355, 333. Functional wraparound guy there with that on-base percentage, getting you back to the top of the lineup. Really, really like the spot for the Royals here. All right. And then the Twins against the lefty. Just to your point, just to round that off, they're not projecting as well for me, given Duffy's performance so far this season. 27.9% strikeout rate for Duffy, 4.02 xFIP, very good on the swinging strike, 14.6% swinging strike rate induced so far this season. But the power's there, of course, for the Twins against any lefty. So you can get to some of those Twins bats. My 2 favorites would be the 2 you mentioned, Donaldson and Cruz.
All right, we're going to head on to our main slate. But first, we're going to talk about the Awesemo Hall of Fame. And I do want to remind you, we do have a show fully dedicated to this 7-game main slate. But let's talk a little bit about the Awesemo Hall of Fame. What do you got to do? Well, you just have to have the Awesemo avatar, put it on your DFS sites as your avatar, and win. And send us some screenshots to Awesemo HOF and Awesemo_COM. That's it. We're going to celebrate these wins on the screen here. Looks like a guy here finally got around to getting an Awesemo avatar. This is one Rinpack. That name seems vaguely familiar here.
First
and second in the monster. $125,000. This guy just rolls in NFL, MLB now, and NBA. He is just absolutely phenomenal. Specializes in the single game slates. Moving into the MLB streets here, you guys can watch him tonight on Live Before Lock for NBA. You also got cruising along here, N. Corfield. Neil's been sending in a ton of these screenshots here.
One of our most frequently winning members for sure.
Just unbelievable. Hey, Neil, who do you like tonight? Let's talk about that. On our next one here, we got Peter Hanley coming in. He says, another win from Team Awesemo, giving shout-outs to Josh and Lofty and Eric Lindquist. You can give some shout-outs to Digital B and your old pal EMac here. We like that too, but we like it as long as you send it to the Awesemo HOA. That's good for us. The next one here, we got Smoking Cutler. Oh, I wish – Now, I like that he has the Awesemo avatar, but the Smoking Jay Cutler avatar, I don't know. That's a tough one, but you got to have the Awesemo avatar to make it here in the Hall of Fame. He has a nice little $10,000 victory there. And then you've got Courtney coming in. They've rolled a nice little victory here, turned 30 cents, that's $0.3 into $45.50. That's what we call ROI. We celebrate wins. Doesn't matter if they're small, doesn't matter if they're big. It's all about seeing that green, having fun, and not having to redeposit. That's the key to the Awesemo Hall of Fame. By the way, if you win or finish top 3, no ties, but finish top 3 in any contest with at least 5,000 entries and have the Awesemo avatar, we'll get you 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. You can see all of that information at awesemo.com/avatar. All right, on to our main slate here. So let me scroll back up and see what the goodness is. Oh, we got another prize pick one here, Terry. So PrizePicks, I'm going back away a little bit from the fantasy points. We're going back to actual statistics here. Max Muncy plus 1.5 total bases. So he could get a double, he could get a single and a walk, he could get a home run. Those would be the ways he could get over 1.5 total bases. This is not hits, so there's a variety to get there. I want to go read the small print. I do not believe steals count towards total bases. I believe it has to come while you are in the batter's box first and foremost. But I think that is a nice one. He is going against Espino tonight for the Washington Nationals. On the other side, we have Clayton Kershaw, who, as I sort of mentioned in the Yu Darvish the Yu Darvish section here, Kershaw has been getting just a little bit besmirched with his good name. Why is that? Well, he's no longer Clayton effing Kershaw. He has to be compared against himself, Terry. This is no good. From 2009 to 2018, every single season below a 3 ERA. 7 All-Star appearances, 3 Cy Young Awards, including the 2014 National League MVP. All right, let's take the name away from Kershaw. Let's say we have a lefty going against the Nationals who are down Trey Turner and the amazing on fire, and he actually burned himself to a crisp, Kyle Schwarber, who is out with he was just so hot, his hamstring caught on fire, and so he's got a strained hamstring now. That's what happens when you hit 16 home runs in like 22 days. It's one of those side effects. It's a cautionary tale. But if we said, hey, I'm going to give you a reasonably priced ace today, going against the Nationals, missing 2 of their better hitters, and this person has a 3.25 ERA, which is 26th in the league right now, has a less than 1 base runner per inning at 0.98, which is 13th in the league. And they're also going to have 10.9 strikeouts per 9, which is 14th best in the league. Wouldn't you want to roster that pitcher? So forget the name Clayton Kershaw. Get awesome pitcher X going against the Nationals tonight.
I don't want to forget the name Clayton Kershaw. I like Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw is pitching very well. Clayton Kershaw is pitching to a 2.84 xFIP this season. That is one of the better marks of his recent career anyway. That's the same that he put up in 2017, and he hasn't been that good since. He's been well over 3 the last couple of seasons. He had 3 seasons. Only 3 seasons his entire career has he been below a 2.84 xFIP. 2014 through 2016, he was at 2.08, 2.09, 2.28. Is he not that pitcher anymore? Maybe. Is he still one of the best pitchers in the league? Absolutely. This is a dominant pitcher. This is somebody that we want to roster almost every time he is out there. He's gotten through 102 and a third innings in 17 starts. He's pitching to that excellent xFIP. He's got a 0.98 whip. He's inducing 16.5% swinging strikes, 32.6% CSW rate, only a 6.5% barrel rate, 38.2% hard hit, 88.2% mile an hour average exit velo. There is nothing not to like about Clayton Kershaw here. I do not understand where that might be coming from if people are saying that. It's totally bonkers to think that there's anything wrong with rostering Clayton Kershaw. He's also the only good pitcher on this evening's slate. Everyone else is either pitching above their heads or is just a bad pitcher. So I don't know where the ownership is, particularly on FanDuel. I know he costs $11,000. We've got him projected at 11% ownership. I don't know where everybody else is going on that slate. Everyone else on that slate sucks.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Free ownership projection from the main slate today is available at Awesemo.com. You also get free ownership for the single game NBA slate. If I'm looking for hitters, it's going to be coming from the Los Angeles side. Cody Bellinger. I mean, we give him a little mulligan for the hairline fracture of his what was it, left leg that had him on the disabled list. If not at the beginning of the season, then I think he went on a second time. But he's kind of in that Christian Yelich, what the hell happened to him situation. Remember like 2018 when those guys were godlike, 2019, back-to-back MVP seasons between the two of them. Just not seeing it as much this year. That said, I can't quit him. I can't quit him at 3,700 on DK. Come on. That's like a gimme. Max Muncy is almost $2,000 more. I think he's absolutely fine in here. I don't dislike Justin Turner. No relation to Trey Turner. Trey Turner jammed his finger. The swelling didn't go down when he hit a triple on his birthday, tying a major league record with his 3rd career triple. That's pretty cool in and of itself. First major league player to hit it, not triple, for the cycle. My apologies. His 3rd career cycle ties the major league record, and it happened on his birthday. No one else has done it on their birthday for that, but he has missed the last 2 games, so the swelling just has not gone down. No trip to the disabled list, but we'll have to see if he's in the lineup. Even if he's in the lineup tonight, I'm not going to be particularly worried about that one. Anything else from this one? Because I'm going to turn you loose here on Garrett Richards.
I'm just kind of starting to think that maybe you're gunning for that MLB blurbs writing job.
I would like that very, very much. It would be fun. But I have my daily article that I write for Awesemo here, spotlight hitters and stacks, because I like to talk about the hitters too. So you guys can get that free every single day. Well, what is the twist? How is it different from Terry's free article? So we don't always talk about the same batters. Well, one, I do a stack for each of the sub slates. We got an afternoon stack, we got a main slate stack, and we got a late stack tonight. I will call out if you can do them on all the slates, but it allows me to write up content that is not always going to be covered elsewhere. Plus, it's valuable content because there's not a lot of slate-specific content, especially for the late slates. So you guys can check that out there. Today, I do pitchers. Normally, I do top shelf pitcher, secondary pitcher, and a wild card. Everybody outside of Clayton Kershaw technically is a wild card tonight, so I threw in Yu Darvish as our afternoon pitcher just because I could not pick the dog with the least amount of fleas. I found the dog with the most amount of fleas. That would be Garrett Richards. He has admitted, Terry, that he relies heavily on the sticky stuff to generate spin on his curved ball as well as for control. Since the official inspections have begun, he has made 3 starts spanning 11.2 innings while walking 5 and allowing 6 home runs. He has just 6 strikeouts. Over these 3 starts, he has thrown his curveball only 22 times, including one of those starts where he did not throw it. He has said he is not able to throw his curveball. He has been working on, I'm going to call it an eephus pitch, a curveball that is in the mid-70s, down from his upper 80s curveball. His RPM on that in his starts from 5 starts ago till now has gone from the 3,200 to 3,300 range on that curveball to 2,750. Yikes, yikes, yikes. The other thing that's hard for him, and Greg's pointed this out a bunch of times, I've mentioned it in articles over the year. This guy has had 2 different shoulder surgeries. He's had Tommy John, and he blew out his knee covering first base. Poor guy has had every injury there is. This could be the end of the line. He's on a 1 year, $10 million contract. Well, I don't think they're going to kick him to the curb. He's not even an innings eater at this point. He should be throwing batting practice, Terry.
Yep.
The floor is yours. And then you can talk about Cole Irvin and his lack of strikeouts.
So to sum up, I didn't like Garrett Richards before he stopped using the sticky stuff. So yeah, I'm with you across the board there on all of that. I wouldn't have been getting to him anyway in this spot. The price is fine, 6,000. Hey, that's not a bad price, but this is it's a talented enough Oakland lineup. Throwing a right-handed pitcher into Matt Olson's power, particularly a right-handed pitcher who has admitted he can't pitch anymore without cheating. This is a plenty good spot for the Oakland Bats. I would not roster Garrett Richards at all. Guy's given up a 52.5% hard hit rate on the season, 92.3 average exit velocity. It's just not a spot for the pitcher at all. This one for me is probably bats on both sides. I do like Cole Irvin's profile in general going forward as a pitcher, but so far this year, it's just not there. 94 innings over 16 starts, only a 17.3% strikeout rate, a 4.65 xFIP, a 1.22 whip, 9.5% swinging strikes induced, 16.3 degree average launch angle with a 7.6 barrel ball rate, 37.2% hard contact. He's doing okay in the contact profile, which is kind of encouraging, but just going up against this deadly Red Sox lineup, I don't want any part of a lefty here. And it looks like the Sox aren't really getting that much ownership on this slate. So I'd be encouraged by the ownership marks against 2 hittable pitchers on both sides of this one. So I'd be looking at some A's stacks. I'd be looking at some Red Sox stacks here.
All right, let's keep cruising through here because we got a few more games to go, and we are having so much fun. Time is getting away from us here. Houston at Cleveland. Jake Odorizzi is kind of the other pitcher I'm sort of interested in. Like you, I looked at Cole Irvin. It's the lack of strikeouts and tougher matchup today that's getting me a little bit nervous when it comes to looking at him. But we're looking at just some absolute unmitigated disasters out here as our other pitching options. If we look at, let's get down here to Jake Odorizzi. My words were the options on tonight's slate are not inspiring much confidence, is what I say. So last night, Jose Ramirez was a late scratch with a sore elbow. He should play, but he may not be 100%. Franmil Reyes returned to the lineup after missing 6 weeks with an oblique injury. Did have 3 hits though, but this one is a little bit risky here. I'm going to lean on Odorizzi. In his last 22 innings, he has a 2.45 ERA, 0.77 base runners, striking out 22 batters. What do we got in this game? Are you still going to the Yankees game? Is it in delay yet? Will you make it?
I haven't seen it get delayed yet. I was going to be late anyway. I'm always late when I go to games. I have the Saturday package for my tickets. So normally during the season, it's like 16 games. So I typically will wander in around 1:30. It takes me on a good day like 45 minutes to get there if I hit everything perfectly with the bus and the train. On a bad day, hour and a half. So we'll see. But no rush, no pressure. So where were we? Jake Odorizzi.
Jake Odorizzi.
Threw me there for a sec. The pitcher.
It was an on-air production meeting. Sometimes that's got to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if I was going to say, I got to get to the game where we're just going to jump off air and wish everybody.
I was going to start talking like this, like Joe Suzu or whoever that was in the commercials back in the days used to talk like this. That was what I was going to do for the next 4 games. We don't have to do that.
Micro Machines, man, kind of a approach. Like 27.3% strikeout rate for Odorizzi this season, over 35 and a third innings, 3.92 xFIP, a 0.96 whip, inducing 11 swinging strikes. Like I said, I used to like Jake Odorizzi more, and I've been not really trusting some of the contact profile this season. It's a limited sample, but 15th percentile hard hit rate, 16th percentile average exit velo, 35th percentile expected slugging percentage, 34th percentile barrel rate. To put numbers behind those things, I've been trying to transition people into some of the actual percentages on those. So it's an 8.8% barrel ball rate, a 17.4 degree average launch angle, 45.1% hard hit rate, and a 90.8 average exit velo. Those are not good marks. He's getting hit hard despite some of the strikeouts, despite pitching somewhat well around the edges. I think there's some upside here, particularly with them getting Franmil back in this lineup. It adds a lot of power there. He's one of the better home run hitters in the league when he's going right. rolling him behind Jose Ramirez into Bobby Bradley. It's an interesting part of this lineup. Stacking those guys together with Ahmed Rosario, I think if you're looking for Indians bats, would be my approach to rostering Indians bats. Maybe working Harold Ramirez, Bradley Zimmer into some of those shares. But that would be the core of Indians for me. I think we do have to take out shares of Jake Odorizzi on this slate just based on the total dearth of pitching overall, though. Like I said off the top, we've only got Clay Kershaw as a comfortable option. Everyone else on this slate is uncomfortable. So I do think we need shares of Jake Odorizzi. He's going up against a projected Cleveland lineup that has a 26.3% strikeout rate overall. So there are certainly some strikeouts. That's the downside of getting Franmil back. He brings his 30.7% strikeout rate back into this lineup. And then if it's Zimmer, Perez, and Mercado at the back end, you've got three guys on the back end of the lineup, all over 35% strikeouts. So there's a ton of strikeouts on the board here. So it could be a sneaky upside spot for Odorizzi. 7,200 on the FanDuel slate. Like I said, you just kind of need them.
All right, next game, Coors Field. It is going to be in the mid-80s for this early evening start. We're looking at right now a 12.5 implied run total. Wow, that's a big one. You have a couple southpaws on the mound with Wade LeBlanc and Kyle Freeman. This game is essentially a pick-em. I'm picking the hitters. What do you want to do here? There's no redeeming qualities for either of these pitchers.
You don't want to roster like 150 Wade LeBlanc shares at Coors Field for 5,500 on the FanDuel slate? Why not?
No.
I've got him projected.
Well, because I think he's going to pitch, 50, 60 pitches?
I have him projected for 3.92 FanDuel points. So I have him projected for getting one out.
Okay, so wow. Okay, so here's the prop of the game. His over-under for strikeouts is 2.5. He's averaging 6.1 per 9 this season. How many innings do you project him for?
It looks like my innings projection, the way that comes together, came in under an inning and a half. Is basically how I do it. It's because it's just wacky doing it in thirds. I have him projected for 1.38 strikeouts, and like I said, 3.92 FanDuel points.
So there's a lot of room for you in that 2.5 under.
Certainly. If I change let me just change his innings just to get something. If I give him 5 innings, his strikeout projection jumps to 5.4 strikeouts, and he gets a more realistic 15.33 projected FanDuel points. So that's probably what you're going to see out of him, but it's probably going to be less than 5 innings. I do not expect a good start here from him. Like you said, this is all about bats. It's obvious. It's Coors Field. That said, it's another situation where we're just walking into a ton of ownership, and it's difficult to put these bats together in low-owned constructions, particularly on the DK slate with the Cardinals. Even the lower-end Cardinals at the back of the lineup are all well over 20% owned. On FanDuel, you get a little bit of room around Yachty because you don't need a catcher. You get a little bit of room around Paul DeJong because he's struggling, and he's kind of expensive at 3,800, I guess. But he's a hitter I like, and 10 home runs and 212 plate appearances. I know he's sub Mendoza at 177, 278, 360, but a 183 ISO, decent, and he's one of the better home run hitting shortstops in baseball over the last few seasons. So I don't mind getting to some low on DeJong if I'm looking for good ways to put this together. But when the ownership comes in like this, it's just for me, I tend to get away from the heavily owned Coors teams. The Rockies on the other side, as bad as they are, going up against a terrible pitcher here, maybe there's a little bit of upside when you're getting to hitters like, you're stringing together Raimel Tapia, Jonathan Daza, and his very good hit tool, and then maybe you're hoping to squeeze some upside out of Charlie Blackmon. And then you roll in Trevor Story, who's 30% owned on the FanDuel slate, 20% on the DK slate. Everybody else in the lineup is low owned and not that expensive, though. So you can kind of work around Story maybe, get to Ryan McMahon, get to Brendan Rodgers as you're putting it together. They're the lower owned team. That's where I would land if I was going to Coors Field.
All right. In his last 7 2/3 innings, Wade LeBlanc, I almost said Mel Blanc. Wade LeBlanc, you're the only one that's going to get that one. 3 home runs in his 7 2/3 innings. I want to point out on PrizePicks, Nolan Arenado, 10 fantasy points. That's actually down half a fantasy point from when I wrote this up this morning. Awesemo projecting 14.78 fantasy points. They have just 10. Feels like a nice one there.
I've got him in an even 15.0.
Okay, so I'm thinking that's a good one. So again, you can on PrizePicks, you can play same game parlays. You can mix cross sports. You're picking 2, 3, 4, or 5 questions. You put 5 questions together there, you get a 10x multiplier on your entry fee. They have soccer, CGSO, MLB pitchers, MLB hitters. They have hits plus walks. They have fantasy points. They have strikeouts. They have all sorts of good stuff there. NBA, WNBA, PGA. They have halftime props for the NBA. They have NFL coming right around the corner, League of Legends, NASCAR, including the Xfinity circuit, tennis, highlight, and tomorrow only hot dogs.
They're going to cover my chili cook-off at the end of the summer, I swear. These guys are good.
Excellent.
It's been a couple of years since we've done that, but we used to do one every year. A lot of fun.
We shall see. Now that we're coming into out of the pandemic, we may need to do that. And the best part yet, saving the best for last. You sign up over there on PrizePicks. You make your first deposit. You put in Awesemo in that promo code, and they will match you up to $100 with your first deposit. Free money. It's a good way to go. Also, a good way to go. Baltimore, the Angels. They had a nice little crazy one there last night. Angels ended up topping the Orioles last night, 8-7 on a ninth inning Jared Walsh single that plated Shohei Ohtani. How many home runs do you think Ohtani has without looking?
Oh boy, my Zoom window just popped in front of it, so I'm not looking. I think it's 24.
Oh, Terry. He had 2 last night. Now, how many home runs do you think he has?
Is it 30?
It's 30, baby. It is 30. 3-0. How crazy.
I didn't realize that.
Did you know? How many stolen bases do you think he has?
Oh, I just clicked away from that too. Over 10.
12 stolen bases. He's third in the league with 66 RBI. He is just outside of the top 10. I believe he's 12th with those 12 stolen bases. Oh, and he's a pitcher as well. How did all of this happen? Wow. So he's pretty good. For a guy like Jorge Lopez, who has a heavy ground ball lean, he certainly allows a metric crap ton of home runs. I'm not sure how this happens, Terry. Perhaps you can tell us from some of the launch angles. In his for his career, 1.6 home runs per 9 innings. In his 5 June starts, 7.2 ERA, 1.8 base runners per inning, 5 home runs allowed, 21 strikeouts in 25 innings. The oddities in these starts, he has only 24 base runners. However, 17 have scored, and there's only been 2 home runs. That's some serious bad luck. To have 17 of 24, 71% of the runners score, and you only give up 2 home runs, that's just bad luck. Weird.
Yeah.
It's an oddity. But we've got Ohtani, you've got Anthony Rendon, who's coming out of his doldrums. You have Jared Walsh, who actually has power. Doesn't always connect, but he's moving into becoming a more, I don't know that dependable is the word, but he is flashing some upside. Did you know he has 20 home runs on the season? He is 7th in the league. That's pretty good. He's 4th with 59 RBI. So let's not set Jared Walsh aside by any stretch. And then you got David Fletcher, puts the ball in play damn near every at bat. He's at top of the order again. That's going to get him 5 plate appearances. What do you want to do with this one? Any hints of pitchers from either side here? Because as you mentioned, it's not a pretty picture at all.
Yeah, and look, Cobb is a guy I've kind of dismissed what he's done so far this season, and I'm going to continue to dismiss it in general. But I think on this slate, we at least need to consider it because, again, total lack of good pitching. So he projects fairly well for me in this matchup against the Orioles. They're not as good against right-handed pitching, so I get a decent projection. He's at an affordable price, and he's probably, just based on this year's performance at least, the second best pitcher on this slate, which is ridiculous to say. But I think it's true, and I think we need to go to him. Orioles, 11% worse than average creating runs against right-handed pitching this year, 3.51% home run rate, 0.164 team ISO, 23.7% home strikeout rate. So at or below the league average against right-handed pitching across the board. There's some upside here. I think I would probably counter it with rostering some of the Orioles bats as well. Grab a Mullen, Santander, Mancini, Mountcastle, Hayes, kind of a stack. They're going to be very low owned again here. I really don't know where all the ownership is hiding on this slate. I assume we'll find it at some point. A lot of it going to Coors Field, I'm sure. But yeah, I think there's some upside for both getting to Cobb because we're going to need him, and then getting to some hedge stacks with Orioles bats here, because I do like at least the top 5 hitters, the profile of them against this pitcher in general. On the Angels side of things, absolutely you can fire away with Angels bats against this pitcher. That said, it looks like a lot of people are going to be doing that, at least on the FanDuel slate, between Ohtani, Rendon, and Jared Walsh. Ohtani, just to throw a little bit on top of what you were talking about, 538 actually has a pretty good article up about his performance this year. He's trending toward being the first ever player in baseball to have a 5.0 WAR or better on both sides of the ball. Babe Ruth never did that. The only person to ever do it in professional baseball was a guy named Bullet Rogan of the Kansas City Monarchs from the Negro Leagues, which were just made official, which is a very good thing on Baseball Reference. So those stats count as major league stats now, which is amazing. Some of those players didn't get a lot of credit, and hopefully people will learn about those guys. But nobody in baseball history has ever done what Ohtani in the major leagues, except for that guy, has ever done what Ohtani's doing this season. He's just been outrageous. So absolutely you can roster them. Good luck figuring out unique ways to put this roster together. Once you get toward the back end, you're talking about Max Stassi, Luis Renfigo, Jose Iglesias, Scott Schebler, maybe a little bit of sneaky lefty power on the slate, Taylor Ward. There's not a lot to love in the back end of the lineup. It's really all about the 2, 3, and 4 hitters on that Angels team.
All right. I do want to point out, sorry, I mixed together. I think I said Jorge Lopez, but those stats I read were Alex Cobb. So just to be clear, here's Cobb's. In his last, let's see, he has allowed 5 runs or more in 3 of his 4 June starts. However, 24 base runners for Cobb, 17 of them scored, just 2 home runs. So that's why I agree. Top half the Orioles lineup is fine. To be specific on Lopez, still 1.6 career home run per 9. He has 5 June starts, 7.2 area, 1.8 base runners, 5 home runs, 21 strikeouts across those 25 innings. Both are bad. Cobb's been a little unlucky, but if we look at Cobb's track record, he is who we thought he is. He was a little more positive to start the season, got a little bit of regression, but we can see some of that regression came in the form of just poor luck. It's going to even out. He's a league average pitcher, but league average going against the Orioles with our limited choices tonight is not a bad play.
Yeah, and the truth on Cobb, I mean, he's at a 5.09 ERA, but the xFIP is 2.79. The xERA is 3.81. So he's pitching a lot better under the covers than his ERA tells us. And it's a 3.48 batting average on balls in play against, which is an extreme number, on only a 56% strand rate on the season, to your point about all those base runners that scored. So he's gotten unlucky and is pitching kind of well on the back end. I still, like I said, don't trust it though. I don't think he's that good a pitcher. He's a guy I used to target, so it's not a great spot. But on this slate, we need it.
All right, last 2 games here. We got the Mariners. You got Jordan Lyles going against Marco Gonzalez. Gonzalez last pitched on June 20th. He's probably good for 80, 85 pitches tonight. He was on the paternity list, so not an injury thing. I'm going to assume he was still throwing on the side and all of that, but let's just target 80 pitches. He was approaching 100, but still, that's a somewhat decent, almost 2-week layoff. So we'll give it a little bit of a mulligan there. He gets to go against Texas, just a 4.2 implied run total for Texas. Jordan Lyles, yeah, I'm not really a fan of. He somehow managed to go 2 games, maybe 3 without allowing a home run. That's really not the bona fides we want. He's been in the league for like 10 years. We still remember him from his days in Coors, even though he did pitch forever with the Padres. He just allows a lot of contact. And then the last game, and I'll let you put your final thoughts onto both these. Last game, I don't like either pitcher as well. We have Long, who is going against Faria. Faria was he opted out of his minor league contract. I can't remember which team he was with, but he was quickly gobbled up there by Arizona, who was in desperate need of starters themselves. You have Long on the other side, who I have a hard time seeing go more than about 70 pitches tonight. The oddity of this one, nearly a 10 implied run total, and the roof is closed tonight. We've seen both these teams put up runs in the last couple games, somehow in sneaky fashion. San Francisco has been a really good offense this season, despite having Belt and Longoria and Stremski and a variety of people on the injured list throughout the season as well as currently. But they're still plugging together numbers. I haven't quite figured that out because it's not their home park, which I thought was a new Coors West. Terry, we'll get into that later. What do you want to do with our last 2 games here? 2 of our 3 10 o'clock games.
Yeah, so on the Giants stack end of things, I guess is a good place to start. I wrote them up as my stack of the day for the afternoon when I wrote my column this morning, which if it's not on the site yet, it'll be up probably around 2. That's usually when it goes. I was hoping they'd be lower owned when I wrote that. Our ownership wasn't up yet. On FanDuel, they're drawing a lot of attention, which makes it a little bit difficult to roster them. I still really like the spot, though. I get excellent home run marks up and down the lineup. Jake Faria, as you were saying, is kind of a nothing pitcher. There's really no concerns here. Probably not going to see a ton of Jake Faria here either, and then get into the bad Arizona bullpen. So there's a lot to like about that Giants offense. It's just a shame they're going to be a bunch of the hitters that I like are going to be up over 25% on the FanDuel slate. It makes them difficult to get to. A little bit more room on the DK slate because they're priced up a little bit more over there. Priced for what they've done this season, where FanDuel's kind of got them priced for more reputationally, I think. The Giants are leading the league in home run rate against both hands this season. 4.41 against righties like Faria, 4.70 against lefties, outstripping most of baseball by a decent margin. So they're a very good home run hitting team. I'm getting good home run marks up and down. It's just a matter of how do we get to some of these lefties with a low ownership product within our stack. Buster Posey, I like a lot on FanDuel because he's not getting that much ownership because, again, we don't need catchers over there. And everybody, I guess, is sleeping on the fact that Posey's at 328, 419, 551 on the season with a 222 ISO, creating runs 66% better than average, 12 home runs on the year. He's having an absolute renaissance year. It's great to see. Love Buster Posey there. He helps with the ownership, but it's still challenging. So getting to Brandon Crawford is great. Alex Dickerson, Yaz, even Wilmer Flores. There's a lot of good hitting in that offense. It's just difficult to put them together. I don't really want any part of the Diamondbacks on the other side. They're not a team I get to very much. Don't think that much of their offense. If I'm taking anybody, it might just be grab a couple shares of an Eduardo Escobar, maybe grab some home run upside. It's not that I think much of Samuel Long as a pitcher or getting into the Giants bullpen. It's just they don't project very well. There's just not a lot of reliability in that offense. So if I got to some shares, it's not like I'm taking them out, but it's certainly not a go-to spot for me. If I'm looking anywhere as far as a stack, it's probably a simple like 2 through 5. Pavin Smith, Eduardo Escobar, Christian Walker, Asdrubal Cabrera. Some of the professional hitters and the guys I have a little bit more respect for in that lineup, but nothing major there. On the other game, Jordan Lyles, not going to be going to him even against a weak Mariners lineup. I just don't think there's a lot to see. 18.2% strikeout rate over 84 and a third innings in 15 starts, 4.92 xFIP, only inducing 10.9% swinging strikes, which is around a little bit above average maybe, but below average 26.2% CSW. It's just not a good pitcher. Going up against not a great offense by any means, but there's a little bit of pop here. They're getting decent home run marks, particularly around Haniger and Seager, the two better hitters in this lineup. So it's not that I'm necessarily going to Mariners stacks, although they're not that highly owned. They're easy enough to put together because they're cheap. Marco Gonzalez, I think, is another guy that we're just going to need based on being one of the, it's rough to say, but one of the more talented pitchers on this slate, I guess. And we're talking about a guy who's only at a 20.8% strikeout rate over his 47 and 2/3 innings this year, a 4.79 xFIP, a concerning 17% barrel rate, a 19.2 degree average launch angle, a 45.4% hard hit rate, a 90.8 average exit velo, miles per hour average exit velo. It's a dangerous spot to be rostering Marco Gonzalez. It's just that the Rangers suck against left-handed pitching. They only have really two premium power bats anyway. But just overall, looking at Texas against lefties, their marks are, they are a 23.5% strikeout rate, which is around the middle of the league. So the strikeout narrative might be overblown for Marco. It's not a major strikeout spot, but only a 3.12% home run rate against lefties for this team, below average, creating runs 10% below average and near the bottom of the league. If only the Pirates are worse by team ISO, 138 team ISO for this group against left-handed pitching. So maybe Marco's safe, even if he doesn't have explosive upside, and maybe safe is enough to get us there on this this ugly pitching slate. So I think that's where I'm going there. I would have some Marco shares on DK. I think you absolutely need him, and his 50% ownership is probably pretty justified over there.
Did you know that Buster Posey won an MVP?
I did. Buster Posey's going to the Hall of Fame.
2012 MVP. Did you know his numbers this year are proportionally equal to that season?
I didn't realize that. I'm pulling them up right now just to look.
OPS plus in it. First number will be his MVP season. Second number will be this season. OPS plus 171 to 168. Regular OPS 957 to 970. Slugging's up 2%. On base percentage is up 7%. Batting average is down 6%. Home runs tracking to be, well, he had 24. He's got 12 now. He's probably on pace for 28 home runs. RBI not there. He had 123 RBI back then, 27 this year. He'll get there in walks probably as well. Holy cow.
He won a batting title in 2010. He's got
rookie of the year,
6 All-Star appearances, MVP, 4 Silver Sluggers. Maybe I'm going out on a limb saying he's going to the Hall of Fame, but I think Buster Posey's.
I never thought he was bad. I just didn't remember that.
Yeah, I mean, in another position, these aren't Hall of Fame numbers, but as a catcher,
right,
these are Hall of Fame numbers. So it's 55.7 WAR for his career. Dynamite player.
Excellent. Sam, could you explain what EMac? Can you explain what you mean by proportionally equal? Yes, more or less. I'm just saying is if you had 100 in that particular year I'm talking about, and right now you have 50 and you're halfway through the season, proportionally you're on pace for. It's another way of saying on pace for that. Jason Garnett comes in and says, damn, I'm on the last game. I'm late. No worries. All you got to do is hit rewind. We're going to get on out of here, but you can hit rewind there. We went like 90 minutes today. This is what happens when I only have one show. I make producer Chris sit work 2 shows worth of content.
Love it.
Revenge, my friend. Revenge for what? I don't know, but here we are. But you guys get Adam Scherer and Eitan Shander did the NBA Strategy Show. You can listen to that. That's on the Awesemo YouTube network. Subscribe to our YouTube network. I see we almost broke Joe DiMaggio's record. We had 62 thumbs up with just 2 thumbs down. We were close. It was a valiant effort. But with that, gamers, good luck.
That was fun.